You're listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt, where we talk about hunting, shooting, fishing, camping, and everything else that the great outdoors has to offer. Let's get into it. Who doesn't love a good coffee? So before we get into this episode, I want to tell you about the international sensation that is Final Press and how you can use the code AHB podcast to get 10% off. If you want to support the podcast and get an awesome bit of gear that I know you will love, then check it out. The link can be found in the show notes, socials, and on the website. Final Press, you'll love it. Alrighty, good one tonight, because it's something I've been talking a fair bit about lately. Is we've got a massive problem over here in Australia with feral cats, and just baffles me a little bit as to why there's not a popular method in using tree dogs like over in the States. So lucky enough to be joined by Michael from Out and Outdoors, who I've been following your Instagram for a while and watching your tree dogs, especially a young dude. That's been pretty cool to see him progressing over the last sort of 12 months. And mate, I'm just going to pick your brain about tree dogs because, geez, coon hunting looks fun.
Yeah, dude. He's 2.5 now, I think. I raised him from a pup. I've got his mom, Bertha. She's a pretty good dog. She's not the greatest. She'll run trash and stuff, but I've been trying to train him, and he's after he hit 2-year-old, he's actually doing really well. I don't go as much as I'd like to, but when we go, most of the time we tree a coon.
So for guys over here, because using tree dogs is not that popular, the way we use indicating dogs to chase deer and, you know, dogs to bail up pigs, it's a little bit different. Do you want to sort of explain to people who might not have seen it, heard too much about it, the process of what is actually happening in a hunt?
All right. Well, you take the dog out to the woods, and the way we do it, there's multiple ways of doing it. My favorite way is to walk hunt. That's coon hunting. You can take your dog out, turn him loose. He'll run around and smell for a track. You know, when a coon gets out running around, they leave a track on the ground, and the dog, they find that track, they smell it, and then they follow it. They trail it up, and once they come to the end of the track, they'll tree on it. That's one method. Then you can do what's called road hunting. You can put the dogs in front of your truck. You can drive down the road, and if a coon has crossed the road or is close to the road, they'll smell it. You let them off, or if you're road hunting, they'll run off the side of the road, follow the track, then they'll tree it. Then you can do what's called rigging. You put them on top of your dog box, and you drive down the road, and when they strike a track off of your dog box or out of the dog box, you turn them loose, and they'll find it and they'll tree it. That people do that while they coon hunt, but that's more popular with bear and hog hunting around here. Everybody around here bear and hog hunts with dogs. I've done it. It's not my favorite, but it's fun, you know.
The rigging basically sounds very similar to what we do over here with basically the feral pigs that we have over here, or hogs as you guys call them, is they, you know, drive around, have them in the boxes, they trigger and then let them out and then track them down.
Oh, okay.
I noticed in watching what you guys do over there, and it's very similar here, is running the Garmin collars and being able to track them on a handheld device so you know how far and where they are if they get out of that range to hear them.
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed something a bit different. I didn't even know this, but I saw you running your Garmin, was it Instinct? And that actually was telling you, what was it called? Garmin Instinct, was it?
On my watch.
The watch?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Garmin Instinct.
Well, that was pretty cool because I was watching there where it's telling you how many yards your dog was away and pointing you in the right direction. And I was like, geez, that's bloody handy to use.
Yeah, well, I've got one on right now. It's the Garmin Fenix 5X. It does the same thing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, the watches are handy. I like the Garmin watches. We also have a tablet that you can put in your truck and connect it to your Garmin. And if you drive around, you can, it's right there on the dash. It's pretty handy too.
So once the dogs are picked up on that scent, and I guess the reason they're called tree dogs is that the objective is for them to get them up the tree and hold them there for you to get them or to locate the dogs and then deal with it.
Yeah.
Which for me, it makes perfect sense over here because that's what cats do. They go up trees. So I know you guys do it with raccoons, but for here, trying to draw a bit of a comparison, and that's why I wanted to get you on and talk to you about these things because we've got a massive problem here and we don't seem to do it that way. And I think it's super effective. How easy, hard is it when chasing them because you're using the dogs?
Well, whenever they tree it, they stay put. Most of the time, it's already in the tree when the dogs find it too. Sometimes it's not.
Okay.
My cousin and I, we went hunting probably a month ago now, and we were walking through this field just to get to the wood line. And we were talking, and my dog was way over here to the left, probably 40 yards. And I shined my light to my right, and I said, "Is that a coon?" And there's a coon walking through the field towards us. And it took off when it seen our lights. Well, a few minutes later, my dog come running through that way, and he treed it in just a minute, And they'll climb up there, and they'll just sit there and watch you. Or we've had them to where we've watched them cross over into another tree before, but that's not very often when that happens.
You mean like they're up in the tree and then they jump into the other tree, like from branch to branch, and
yeah, or or if the other tree is touching, they'll grab hold and they'll climb over.
Yeah, just to evade the dogs.
Yeah.
So can we talk about what breed do you run and how long have you been doing it for? So that how long does it take for you to get a dog to start from scratch? You've been a bit different because you've had other dogs as well, haven't you? So you've been able to help those dogs train new pups. Yeah. And that's got to be more, that's got to be easier, hasn't it?
It just depends really. I've been doing it since probably 12 or 13, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I know my first dog that I've got was a red bone. I paid $25 for it. It wasn't a very good dog, but I was just wanted to get into it. I was excited about it. I had family members that hunted, friends that hunted. I got that dog and kept it for a long time on the chain. But my first good coon dog was a blue tick hound, and that dog there is probably why I like blue ticks the most. That's what my dogs are right now. They're blue ticks. But I've had every breed except for the Catahoula cur,
Yep.
the American Leopard Hound. That's what it is. That's the one that I've not had. I'm not a big fan of the curs anyways, though. I like a hound. But any dog that I run a tree, that's fine. I'll use it. But yeah, I've had blue ticks since I was 16, I guess, and I'm 33 now. So yeah, it's been a little while. I got out of hunting for a little while too, though, from probably 20 till 26 or 27, I guess. I didn't hunt at all. I concentrated on work and stuff and getting a house.
Yeah, life gets in the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. But me and my wife, I told her, I said, I want to get back into hunting. I'm gonna get me a dog and build me a dog box and stuff. So what I did, I built me a dog box before I even bought me a hunting truck or had me a dog, And I was looking for a dog. Couldn't find one. I'm not big on paying a lot of money for dogs. Everybody says I'm cheap, but some of my best dogs are some of the cheapest dogs I've had, And Bertha, which is my old dog, she is actually a stray, and she had no collar on. She was just running around. So I got her, and I took her hunting, and she run a deer. And it took me a while to break her from deer and running big game, But she runs coons now, and she'll also tree a possum. But I wanted some puppies, and I got a dog gave to me. So I bred him to her, and I got Dude and all of his brothers and sisters. Well, I kept him, and I kept another pup, and the other pup lived till about 5 months old, and something, I don't know why, but he died. And Dude, at 4 months old, he was trailing and treeing a drag on his own. And the first time he ever done it, he did it. And I thought, he's probably going to be a decent dog, you know. So we started taking him with the other dogs, me and my brother-in-law, and he would tree with the other dogs. When he was a year old, it got summertime, so or it's springtime, I should say. Turkey season rolled around. I went turkey hunting, and I said, after turkey season, I'm going to hunt it by itself, get him in the woods, get him trained by itself. Well, I didn't do that. And I feel like I set him back. But now that he's 2 years old, I've had him in the woods by himself, and he's running and treating his own game, and he's doing really well. But training them, it can be difficult, but it can also be fairly easy. It just depends on the dog, depends on you and your patience. Patience is a big thing when it comes to training a puppy, because a lot of people don't have patience. Like my dad, me and him, so I was a mechanic for a long time. And my dad also he works on stuff as well. And I can sit down and work on something to where my dad can't, he'll get mad and frustrated, and I'll do it. And with the dogs, my wife says I have quite a bit of patience with them to a certain point. And then she says, I just don't know what it is. You get so aggravated. And I said, I don't know, but I love messing with puppies. And, I'm actually trying to breed Dude to our inside dog, Clarabelle. She's a blue tick as well. And, since I've only got him and his mama, I'd like to have at least one other puppy out of the bloodline, I should say. But my dogs aren't registered. A lot of people won't have a dog that's not registered, but me, it's just a piece of paper. I don't competition hunt, but I would like to have, one or two more out of them, because we're going to get her fixed eventually, so.
Just to go back to what you're talking about, a drag. So I'm taking that, I do remember a clip on your Instagram where it looked like a raccoon tail just getting dragged along by a piece of line, and you taking that up into the trees. Is that essentially what you're doing? Just running that line so it follows it, and then you hook it up somehow so it pulls it up into that tree?
Yeah. You can get an old coon hide, or you could kill a coon and do it. You'd have to do it sooner than later because the scent leaves. But you can buy a coon scent in a bottle and pour it on there. And that's what I did. You can use a rag or a cloth or anything really. But my little girl, she's now 6, my oldest. She wanted to help me do it, so I got a coon tail and tied it to a string, and we poured some coon scent on it. I had her hold Dude back away from where he couldn't see, and I run it through the yard and tied it up in the tree and turned him loose, and he actually trailed it up and he treed it, and I was shocked because he was 4 months old. He had never been in the woods, never seen that or done that, and I was happy. A dog's nose, it's crazy how a dog's nose works. They can smell so much more than we can. There's this old man one time said, leave the dog alone because he knows more what he's doing than you'll ever know. But
I guess it's that instinct, isn't it? So I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and they were talking about some of the best breeds for coon hunting are dogs with those longer ears. And the reason for that is the ears actually, as they run along and bounce, it flicks up scent towards their nostrils so they can track better. And it's just that fascinated me because I was just like, it makes a lot of sense because, that just makes perfect sense for me. And you're right, it's just a natural instinct. Like people over here get very frustrated about cats, and especially feral cats, because they're decimating wildlife. They kill a ridiculous amount of native animals over here, and they're just doing what nature intended. And that's the problem, is because we've let them get out and populate in such big numbers, and it's just we're way behind the 8 ball trying to catch up now. But they're just doing what they do best, and cats are brilliant hunters. So, from my perspective, listening to what you're saying, it could so easily, in my opinion, be transferred across to hunting feral cats because they act in a similar manner to what I've seen of the coon hunting.
Oh yeah. People over here, around our house, well, we have bobcats and people say we have mountain lions. I've never seen a mountain lion. I don't know. But people bobcat and mountain lion hunt around here. Like, well, not close to me, but what kind of cats do you have?
Ours are just like little, not like you. They're not mountain lions, that's for sure. So
Oh,
they're just escape house cats, essentially, like that have got out and then
oh,
just thrived and populated in the wild.
okay. It's kind of like our hogs, feral hogs. Everybody
Yep.
say they were once, tame and then they got loose and they're a nuisance over here. You can kill a hog if you go deer hunting, if you go bear hunting. I mean, you can kill a hog just about any time of the year, I think. I may be wrong, but I know on private land I think it's hogs. It might be coyotes, but I think it's hogs. You can bait on private land year round and kill them because they're so bad.
Yep.
And I may be wrong on that. I'd have to look it up, but I think that's right.
We got the same sort of problem with the hogs or the feral pigs over here. They're in plague proportions, and the destruction they do by rooting around and just upturning the ground is massive. And you can understand why farmers and property owners really don't want them on the landscape, because not only are they a big pest, but geez, they reproduce so quickly.
Oh yeah, they're like rabbits. They
Oh,
reproduce fast.
100%.
Oh yeah.
It's funny over here. It might blow your mind a little bit, but we've got this big war on deer. People want to call them a feral pest when they're a game sort of animal, but they're wanting to wipe them out. And they're trying to do everything they can, even to the point where they're looking at dropping poison and using that as an eradication tool, which blows my mind because, A, there's such a great resource to have on the landscape. I'm a massive fan of what you guys do over there with the Pittman-Robertson tax or legislation, and then on top of that with your tag system and the North American conservation model, because we don't have anything that's done as well over here in Australia. It's
Okay.
very interesting because for us, they aerial cull deer. They just shoot them and let them rot. And it's one of those really interesting sort of perspectives, because I was posted on the Instagram the other day is that there was an article from 2022 talking about how deer are like the next rabbit plague, which is just ridiculous because deer don't populate like rabbits or feral pigs.
Oh.
Crazy talk. And I don't know about you guys. Over here, it's a bit, to eat the feral pigs. Yeah, it depends where they are. We do have a bit of disease in them here and there. I'm not confident to eat them personally. I wouldn't do it, but I definitely know of people that do. But the deer, on the other hand, are an absolute fantastic source of protein that we're paying a lot of money just to have shot out of a helicopter on public land where people can hunt. It blows my mind. And then I look over at what you guys do over in the States, and it's just such a smart system and definitely a far better way of doing it. But we don't seem to want to implement any of the models over here for that reason. And it's interesting for me because we've got all these different animals on the landscape. I don't think deer do anywhere near as much damage as pigs and cats, and we've got foxes over here, and they all do a lot more damage than deer. And sort of people complain a little bit about the deer wallow and the deer rub trees, but I just can't see the environmental impact anywhere near the same. And there's such a big focus on them when, I don't know about you guys over there, but I'm not eating a fox over here or a feral cat, but it's a bit different over there. With coons, do you guys eat them?
I have never eaten one. I want to try it. My granny and a lot of people in my family talk about eating coons and possum. Everybody used to do it. A possum is a nasty animal. I don't think I could eat a possum. I want to try a coon. I just haven't brought myself to do it yet. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I just haven't done it. A wild hog. We've eaten wild hogs before. It's not too bad. Just like bear,
That's one thing that I would like to do is get over there and do a bear hunt, because the black bear hunting looks fascinating, and everything I watch and hear tells about how great the meat is.
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
So it's good.
Oh yeah. I like bear meat. You got to know how to cook it. If you don't know how to cook it, it's not that good. It's real greasy.
Yep.
But yeah, we've eaten a lot of bear meat. But I've been bear hunting, and I like it. I enjoy it. what I don't like about it over here around me, a lot of people, when they bear hunt in large groups. So there'll be 10, 15 people, 20 or 30 dogs, you know, and to me,
Ah,
that's too much. I don't like that. I like to hunt just me and a buddy or two or three people at the most, you know, a few dogs, not
yeah.
too many. And, and when I went bear hunting, I was a spotter. I was out in the woods waiting for the game to run by. I didn't have my own dogs. You know, I was younger too, but, I went with my papa's brother or brother-in-law and his kids. And, I didn't know all the people I was with. And it was fun, but it wasn't for me. You know, my wife's family, they bear hunt a lot. And, my brother-in-law, him and his cousins and uncles, they also bear hunt. And they kill a lot of bear. They really do. We've actually got some bear grease in the freezer right now that they killed one last year. And, I cook hamburgers and cook different things with it sometimes. But it's good meat. I'm not big on hunting them the way they do, I should say.
Yeah, okay. So I guess there's so many different types of hunting over in the States. Like you've got your deer hunting, you've got your bear hunting, you've got your mountain lion hunting, coyotes. You know, you've got such a, I guess, vast array of species to go for. What was the attraction to chasing coons?
I don't really remember, honestly. I know my papa, when I was growing up, he talked about hunting all the time. He grew up in the mountains, Citico Mountain. And he talked about coon hunting. He had a dog that he trained to tree squirrels during the day and coons at night. And it was a mixed up dog that a lot of people told him he should have killed whenever it was a puppy. And well, what the story was, a guy he worked for, his dog got bred by another dog that it wasn't supposed to be bred to. And when the puppies were born, he put them in a bag and said, here, go throw them in the river. And Papa said, I opened the bag up and I looked and I seen those puppies and I thought, oh, this one's cute. I'm going to take it out and take it home. And he said, I chunked the rest of them in the river. And if they would have known that I took that puppy, it would have been a bad day for me, you know. And, which that was a long time ago, you know, it was like in the 20s and 30s, I guess. And, Papa raised that puppy and it was one of the best dogs around, he says. And, I guess his stories and my other papa, he talked about hunting with his brothers growing up. They coon hunted, squirrel hunted, bear hunted, just anything. They put food on the table. That's what they did, you know. Uh, you know, everybody around here back then grew up poor, you know, didn't have a lot and you had to hunt. And I guess I was interested in it. And then I got to meeting boys at school that hunted and we got together and my first hunting trip by myself with my cousin, not by myself, but me and my cousin, is after I bought that red bone. And we had never been in the woods at night by ourselves before. And my papa was like, you should go over to mama's property, which was my granny's property. Go over there and go up in this holler and just turn him loose and see what he'll do. And we had never done this before. And we were young and we were kind of scared, you know, ended up getting lost. And back then there was no Garmin's, you know, I didn't even have a tracking system, period. I just had my name on the dog's collar. And we were walking through the woods and my cousin was younger than I was and I was scared to death and he was too. And he said, where are we at? I said, I don't know. And we walked and we walked and we walked. But I did have a cell phone. You know, I called my mom. I said, I think we're lost. We can't find the truck or get back to the truck. And she called my papa and he went down there blowing the horn to get us out of the woods and we couldn't hear it. And, we ended up walking up on a house and I was going to go knock on the door and the guy came out as I walked up to the door and I about scared him to death. And, he said, what are you doing? I said, we're lost. You know, we've never done this before. We don't know where we're at. And he said, I'll take you back, you know, just get in the car. I said, well, I've got my dog. He said, it don't matter. Just throw him in the back seat. And, he took us back to where we went in the woods at, and my mom had called the rescue squad, which is like the fire department,
Yep.
and, they were on their way when we came back out, and, it was kind of embarrassing, but it was fun at the same time. It's a fun story. And, from then on, we were in the woods all the time. Growing up, we weren't allowed to have guns. My mom didn't want guns in the house. When I was, I don't know, 8 or 9, 7, 8, 9, a man broke into our house, and, he intended on killing us. And my dad had overslept for work. And if he hadn't overslept, me and mom probably would have died.
Right.
Dad fought the guy off, but we didn't have a gun. And after that, my papa, my dad, it's actually my dad's stepdad. He come down with a shotgun and said, "Here, you need a gun in this house." And we all went out and we shot it, and learned how to shoot guns and take care of guns and stuff. And from that point on, there was always guns in our house. My first rifle was a 22 Marlin, Model 60, and I've still got it. That's my favorite rifle I've got. And, there's guns all over my house, my mom and dad's house. But, I don't know, I guess a little bit of everything got me into it. I'm not really sure. Something, I guess, sparked my interest, and there I went, And, in high school, we were always in the woods, always hunting. And I bought I never can say the word. It's a beep beep system, is what a lot of people call them, but a telemetry system, like some of the original tracking systems, I guess.
Yep.
And I've still got 2 of them now, but I bought one of them when I was in high school, traded around on some stuff, got a few different ones. We'd turn our dogs out, we'd lose them, and we'd get those out, and we still couldn't find our dogs half the time, And my mom always says, "Yeah, we spent many hours looking for his dogs, riding around back roads and on the woods. He's always in the woods." And I was, I liked it, and I still like it. But now that I got a family, it's slowed down a lot. I tried to go as much as I can, and I don't have as many people to go with as I used to. My brother-in-law, me and him went for 2 years straight there for a while. We were in the woods about every night. If I didn't have to work the next morning, we were hunting that night. And my friend Kenny was the same way. He said, "Let's go." And we would go just about every single night. And both of them have moved off. And now it's just me and Charlie, which is my 6-year-old. She always, and my 5-year-old Willa May. They both want to go, but it depends on the day because they, they're kids. They get sleepy and whiny and stuff. And if we get started early, it's all right. But if we get started late, then there's no point in really going, because half time you don't make it to the woods, they're asleep.
Yeah, especially a car ride.
Oh yeah, but they love it. They like to go. And my 2-year-old, her name is Carlene. She wants to go too, but we haven't took her walk hunting yet. She says, "Daddy, I want to go with you. I want to go hunting. I want to go with you." But I've took her road hunting before, and she likes it. She'll get up in the front seat and watch the dogs run in front of the truck. She likes doing that.
So is it something that you can do day and night? Obviously, I'd be guessing night's probably better because they're more active of a night, but is it something that you can do during the day?
I've never treated a coon during the day. There's people that say they have. I watched videos of people that's treat them during the day, but they're nocturnal animals. You do see them out, running around sometimes. It just depends, I guess, when they're hungry, what they're doing, if it's cold or hot. I don't, people say they're only out at night, but you see them during the day.
Yeah.
But I've never treated one during the day, no.
Yeah, okay. Similar to our cats, they a bit of both, but they're predominantly nocturnal animals as well. So that's, makes sense. So you touched on before a little bit that you did some turkey hunting and the like. Is that you still do other species, or is it just you mainly focus on running the dogs now?
Oh, I hunt just about everything.
Okay.
Bear and hog, not as much, but turkey hunting. Turkey hunt's probably my second favorite. I'm excited about turkey season when it rolls around. I've not killed a lot of turkey. I've called in a lot of turkey. Last year, I came very close to killing one on public land. I worked that turkey for 4 hours.
Yeah, right.
And where I was sitting, there was some people across the lake behind me. And about 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock, they started getting really loud. Those people in the turkey quit gobbling and left. But he was probably within 15 feet of me. I just couldn't see him because of where I was sitting.
Yeah.
I heard him gobble and I just sit down and started working him. And I didn't realize he was in a field. I was on a hiking trail and he came out of the field, and where I was sitting in the hiking trail, it's kind of low. He was above me. He never did stick his head out to where I could see it. But I got up after he left and kind of figured where he was. He's about 15 feet away from me and he never showed himself. And I worked that turkey for a long time. And my gallbladder was going out. And I knew I didn't feel good, but I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't finish turkey season. That was the only turkey that I called in. Or I called it in, but I didn't kill it. That's the only turkey I worked, and I didn't go back turkey hunting this year. So, but I ended up having surgery instead. So.
Well, nowhere near as fun, I bet.
No.
That is something on my list of things to do because it just looks so interesting to sit there and have that sort of dialogue with the turkey to get it in, and like sitting there for 4 hours. I'm not a big one. I know you guys hunt over there a bit more in like tree stands and things like that. It's something I struggle with a lot. I'm much more a stalking hunter.
Oh, yeah.
I like to be moving and walking. And it's something I consistently say is the people over here that sit and wait tend to do better, especially as a new hunter. But for me, I like exploring and I like walking around. And that's the only thing I think with turkey hunting, I'd be like, I don't know how I'd go with it. For like 4 hours is a long time to be sitting there calling in.
Well,
is it hard to stay still for that long and do that?
Oh yeah, it's not easy. I don't sit still in turkey hunting.
Okay.
I used to. Turkey hunting, I went the first time when I was in high school, and I absolutely hated it. I did not like it at all. I was bored out of my mind. And I think that's why I like coon hunting, because you walk. You know, you're always moving.
Yep.
And I said, I don't turkey hunt. I'm not going to turkey hunt. Well, my wife's papa, he turkey hunts, and he turkey hunts out of a blind. And we were talking. Yep. I said, I think I'm gonna try it again. I don't know if I will enjoy it or not, and if I don't, I'm just not gonna do it. And he said, well, go up there on my property. He's got property up in the mountains. And he said, if you sit right here, you'll kill a turkey, I promise. And the first day I went, I called in a hen, and I heard turkeys gobble. I never seen one. The second day I went, I called a turkey in as soon as it got daylight. A tom and about 20 hens came in, and I had a decoy up, which I was up in the mountain. I didn't need a decoy, but I put the decoy up, and he seen it, and he walked over towards it. And I was talking to her papa, beforehand. He's like, if he starts to dance, if you need to adjust your gun, whenever he turns, that's when you adjust it, or he'll run. He'll see you. And I had my gun pointed towards the decoy. I thought he was going to go right up to it. And he stopped between these two little trees, and he started to turn, and I moved my gun. And I was using a single shot 410 that I've had for a long time. And I should have took my 12 gauge, because when I pulled the trigger, my gun clicked. It didn't fire. Ugh. And I was so excited that I called the turkey in, but I was so mad that I didn't kill it, And it was a single shot. I couldn't really do nothing. And he stuck his head up, and the hens did too, and they went right back up the side of the ridge and left. I was mad, but I'm still excited over it. That was my first turkey I called in on my second day of the hunt. I thought that was cool. That got me hooked right there. And I called in one or two more, but I never killed them that year. But that was fine. The next year, my papa has some property on the side of a mountain, but it's not like it's in a different area. It's more local. But I put a blind up, and I sat there like 3 days in a row. I never heard a turkey gobble. I never seen a turkey. But during squirrel season, I was up there hunting, and I'd see turkeys all the time. But when turkey season rolled around, I never seen them. And I sat there and I sat there and I said, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to go to public land. I'm going to walk around. And I left and I went to a spot that I coon hunt on public land. I was walking down this service road and I was hitting my box call every once in a while. And I heard something. I was like, what's that? You know, and I hit it again. It was a turkey gobble. So I walked towards it a little ways and I sit down up against this tree and I was using my box call and he would answer me. Then I noticed he was getting closer. Well, apparently he was like on the other side of a ridge or something because he came around to my left and I pulled my gun up, faced it towards him, and I switched to my mouth call and I seen him, but I couldn't get a shot on him. And he come around to my right the way that I was facing in the beginning. And he went behind this big tree and I turned my gun and as soon as he stuck his head out, I shot him. And that was exciting. You know, I worked that turkey for maybe 35, 45 minutes, I guess. I'm not sure exactly, but I didn't work him very long and, brought him in and killed him. And I got him hanging on the wall now, you know, but, you know, I killed that turkey and I worked in a couple of more, but I never did kill them. And then this season, I called that one if I didn't kill it. So I've killed one and I mean, that's enough for now. You know, I like it. I enjoy it. It's hard. That's why I like it, you know.
I think the one for me, I think if I was interacting with like the bird and calling and it's calling back and getting closer, I think I'd be much more patient in sitting there because I'm at least doing something. Like there's been a couple of times when I'm chasing deer here, I'll just be sitting waiting and hoping for something to come in and there's nothing going on. And that I just get bored very quickly. So I think it might be a little bit different because I know during the rut over here, going back and forth, like the previous season that's just been here, chasing fallow deer and croaking back and forth with the buck and trying to get him in. He was coming in, then he was going out, coming in, going out. And that there, I stayed there for probably a good 25, 30 minutes. I didn't get bored because that interaction was going on. So I feel in a circumstance like that, it's a little bit different. You're just like sitting and waiting when nothing's occurring and you're sort of just waiting and there's nothing transpiring at the same time.
Oh yeah. Like it's like deer hunting over here. See, I never was a big deer hunter either. It's kind of like turkey hunting, you know. To me, it was boring, and that's why I didn't do it. And our pastor, he said, "Hey, won't you come hunt where I hunt?" You know. First day, I didn't see anything. The second day, I seen, I think, 4 deer. You know, and every day that I've went, I've seen deer, and I coon hunt over there as well, and I'll drive up at night and get my dog out and there'll be 15 deer standing in the field. And to me, that's fun. You know, I actually seeing them, interacting with them, but I don't like sitting in a tree stand all the time. I do get bored and I get aggravated, you know, cause I seen a deer, I seen 2 deer I guess it was the second day we went. There was 2 does. And then that was at like 7 o'clock in the morning. Then at 10 o'clock, there was 2 more does walked out, you know, and that's a 3-hour, you know, wait right there. That was boring to me, but seeing the deer was exciting, you know, and, I just like our deer season opens Saturday, you know, and I'm going to go, it's archery, but I'm going to go try to kill one. But, I want to get into saddle hunting. And do you know what saddle hunting is?
It's more like a tree stand, isn't it?
It is, but it's mobile. You walk in, find a tree and climb the tree with steps, you know, and then set in the saddle.
It's like a platform, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a platform. It's very expensive to get into. I don't see spending all the money and not knowing if I'm going to like it. So what I've done, I put my own little setup together. I bought me a harness. I took an old tree stand apart, made my own platform. I bought rock climbing ropes, you know, just, they're not very expensive. I've got my own little setup going and, I'm going to try it out. I may not like it. So I've got like less than $100 in the whole thing. So, I mean, it's not a lot to just try it. Cause you buy the kits that they have, they're like $1,000 or close to
Yeah,
it.
right.
They're expensive, and I can't spend that kind of money and not know if I'm going to like it, enjoy it, you know. But I think that'll be more fun than just sitting in one spot all the time.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's funny you talk about it's expensive. The last time I was over there, going to a couple of different stores with just a plethora of, equipment for hunting, the value was so good and our dollar was so rubbish compared to the US dollar. I think it was about $1.40 or something at the time. And it was still way cheaper to buy things over there than buy them here. So I know last time I was there, I picked up my range, like a laser rangefinder, binoculars. I shelled out a fair bit because it was just the vast array of gear you have, but your stores over there are unbelievable. Just so cool. I just getting to go in and walk through them. They just absolutely dwarf what we have here.
Oh, really?
Well, over here we're just not as big. So we've got, I think we're about 27 million people now. And out of that, in terms of hunting, it's quite small. And then on top of that, we don't have I guess a gun culture as big as over in the States. Is the people over here are really disconnected from firearms, and a lot of the general public are really scared of them, and they're just not there anymore. So there's been a real, I guess, there's just not the amount of people here like you guys have, so it's not as big a business. So the stores and things that we have access, they're good, don't get me wrong, but they're just not, when you compare them to a Cabela's, it's just, they're not even close. But that's also on the back of how big hunting is over there. And I mean, culturally, it plays such a significant role, whereas here, the hunting culture is quite limited in the percentage of the population that actually does it.
Yeah. Were they trying to ban guns in Australia at one time?
Not ban guns. It's not a complete ban. So what they did is there was a couple of mass shootings down here, and they used that as a bit of a catalyst because the general population was so scared and don't really know about firearms. It's funny, people over here, there's still a lot of people that thinks firearms are banned. You can legally buy them. They've limited what types we can have. So the general population, hunters, it's really difficult to get a semi-automatic. So automatics are pretty much definitely not on the table for the general population. But most of ours are bolt action. Depending what state you are, there's different rules. One of our states just recently banned sort of higher caliber rifles. So it's little things. It's very, very different. Like we've got a stupid law here in New South Wales that's an appearance law. So you can have two firearms that do the exact same job, have the exact same capacity magazines, but one looks scarier than the other. Anything that sort of looks like an AR platform is that it's just basically deemed you can't have because it's scary looking, which, it's so silly, but there's a lot of that. And I think that's on the back of it. The people that use firearms, you've got sort of the hunters, the sport shooters, and then the primary producers. Apart from that, and it's not a massive amount of people. So the restrictions in that, the general population have been pretty easily influenced to say guns are bad. That we're quite strict here with our licensing, and you've got background checks and licenses. But I think you guys have a lot of that stuff anyway, don't you? I think you have to have like background checks, and a lot of people get sold wrong information. The media does that everywhere. So we have that. You talk to people here and over there, you say, they can just walk. You can walk in and buy a gun, and I know in quite a few states that's not actually true. There's cooling off periods, there's checks, there's a database, and things like that. But misinformation so much out there.
The last gun that I bought from a store was probably my shotgun, and it took like 20 minutes. I filled the paperwork out. It would take a lot longer. When I was a kid, you'd have to fill the paperwork out. They'd make a phone call. It took a lot longer than it does now. But now, if you have no history of any background of anything bad, it takes maybe 20 minutes and then you're gone. Now, if you buy one like if you bought it at like Walmart, they walk it to your car for you. They won't let you carry it to the store. But besides that, I mean, it's pretty
It's pretty
easy.
quick.
Yeah.
Ours is, I mean, depends how you look at it. If you've already got your firearms license, and you're applying for a caliber you already have, or sorry, a type that you've already had, like, because ours are just like ours are put into categories over here. So whether it be a category A or category B, they're the most popular. If you grabbed a category A firearm, if you've already got a category A, you can put in what we call a PTA, which is a permit to acquire, and they can come back very quickly. It's done online. As soon as you got that, you can just walk in and grab your gun. So it's a little different when you're first getting your first firearms. There is, I think it's a 90-day cooling off period off the top of my head. It's been a while since I bought my first one. So it's, I'm pretty sure it's 90 days, something along those lines. And then when you're actually going through your license, there's quite a few steps to get your firearms license before you can actually purchase anything too. So it's probably a little bit more difficult than you guys over there, but it's one of those things for me that the population over here has just been very disconnected from hunting, shooting, and all those things. And it's funny because you look back at it, and I've got stories of my grandparents that they'd be, jumping on the train with a rifle, and they'd be going to school with the rifle, and after school they'd go out to the farm to shoot rabbits. So it's been a very big turnaround since that. But I guess that's what happens when you start to live in, these big cities that we've created, and people can walk to a supermarket and buy their food. We're disconnected from that sort of subsistence lifestyle.
Yeah. I hate the way the world has become, with the big cities, and we have so much concrete and asphalt. They wonder why it's so hot outside. The sun's heating it up. It's hot because of that, and they're cutting all our trees down. I'm not a tree hugger by no means, but I think we shouldn't cut so many trees down because it's ruining the planet. It really is. And then they build and I live in what you'd call a subdivision. I guess it's a small one. And my growing up, I always said I would never live in one. And when I went to buy a house, that's all I could find, But I would rather have 20 acres and more land than house, But I've got the opposite, and I don't like where we live because we have too many neighbors. I want to be out there by myself, but yeah, you said something about them jumping on a train with a gun or taking a gun to school and stuff. My papa, the one that grew up in Cityco, they went to a school that was very small, and I think the schoolhouse is still standing, but it's a church now, but it's really, really, really small. And, if you've ever watched Little House on the Prairie, it's like that, the school that they went to there. And, he said that there was this one girl in their class that was really mean, and she always run the teachers off. And he said, I remember sitting there one day, and that girl, had just run a teacher off. They got another teacher to come in from somewhere else. And that girl started her stuff, and that teacher pulled a gun out and said, I'm so-and-so, and I'm here to stay. You need to sit down. And, I mean, she put the fear in the little girl, But nowadays, you can't do stuff like that.
Oh, no.
I guess she just did it to, prove a point that she's the teacher and the girl's the student, But that was back in the 30s and 40s. That was a long, long time ago. And things were different back then,
Very different.
They were more simple too. Like it was better back then. I don't know. I don't like the way the world's going. It's destroyed really. I mean, if you honestly think about it, the way people are, the way they've changed everything. And like you were talking about, like buying a gun, used to, you could just go buy a gun. And over here, you can sometimes, like they have gun shows over here, and you can go to the gun shows and there's vendors set up. Some people, if they want, say $300 for this rifle, you just hand them $300 and hand you the gun, But some people, they'll do a background check on you. It just depends, Legally, you're supposed to do a background check, which is fine. I mean, if it's as simple as fill this paper out, let's hit this button, see if you're good to go. But they're trying to, like ARs and AKs and stuff like that, they're trying to ban those over here. There's a lot of people that don't like them. and I've had an AR-15. I actually recently got rid of it. It's not a big caliber, it's a 223. That's all it is,
Yeah.
and it's very small. It's not my favorite type of weapon, but they are fun to shoot sometimes. But I mean, a deer rifle is bigger than like a 30-06. I've got a 30-06. They're bigger than a 223,
Yep.
and I don't know. I just don't understand people nowadays,
I think everything's just changed so much. I
It
think
really has.
people are far more nasty to each other. People are far more, I guess, polarized in their viewpoint and so tribal that they get in their little camp and they can't. It's almost like they can't interact with anyone that's not outside of their little camp. And it's you guys would have it over here. We have it here with whether it be the we've got different political parties, whether it be the Animal Justice Party, and they're all for animal welfare. Which is funny because most hunters are. Most hunters are, they care about animals. They care about conservation. You think we'd have more in line, but they just can't wrap their head around hunting or shooting an animal or killing an animal, which is funny because they don't understand the benefits to keeping populations in check and, having a good number on the landscape so that they can thrive themselves, so that there isn't disease and famine and things like that. I mean, it's like anything. I mean, humans are the same. When there's too many humans, well, look at what's going on. Look at our suburbs, our cities, as you said, the concrete. I couldn't agree more. I live in a place over here that we've had 2 major floods, maybe even 3, and they call them 50-year floods or whatever. And we had them in 2 years. And everyone keeps going, oh, it's climate change. And no one's having the conversation is that, have you ever thought that it's because we've put so many houses and so much concrete on the landscape that the water runs off them? It's not absorbed anywhere. And you've got this just flowing straight into a river, which has then burst its bank everywhere. And that's what's flooding. Yeah. And it's people aren't thinking about these things going, we have such a detrimental impact on the landscape that it's frustrating to see. And, I'm lucky enough that I'm a bit more away from it, just a normal suburb house. But even in the area that I live in, all around us is now getting subdivided, and there's just houses on top of houses on top of houses, and just the traffic and the noise. And it's frustrating for me to see that sort of happen. And I get people call it progress. I don't know if it's progress personally. I think it's a regression, but it's the world we live in now. People, more and more population, and it's just that ticking over of the economy. And I don't know. I'd prefer to be out in the bush any day. So it's one of those things. But then I also find I really appreciate my time out in the bush as well. So when I get to go out, I feel it's a reset, and I just love the opportunity of getting away from the day-to-day grind, and having that connection of where people once were hundreds of years ago and what we've done for thousands of years. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like over here, America was discovered in 1776, right? People hunted off the land. They worked the land. They grew their own food. They hunted their own food. And people nowadays think that's bad, And I do care about animals. I like animals. I like watching animals, and like, we went hunting 2 months ago, I guess. I went with some people that I know, and their dog treated a possum. Well, you can kill possums over here during coon season. They shot the possum out when it hit the ground. It was pregnant, had a lot of babies in its sack, And I didn't know that. And I looked down, and there was a baby possum laying on the ground. So I put it in my backpack. And I said, I'll take it home. We'll put it in a hamster cage, see if we can nurse it, keep it alive, and then we'll turn it loose.
Yep.
It ended up dying. But I enjoy stuff like that. I don't know why, really, but I mean, all these people who think that we're doing something bad and something wrong, they are wrong. And I get on rants, talking about it, thinking about it. So I try not to, but if they would go out there and do it, they would probably enjoy it and understand it more. The people that have a problem with it have never done it, And I watch a lot of YouTube whenever when I'm working. What I do now, I'm a mechanic is what I really am. But I started transporting vehicles So like yesterday, whenever I was talking to you, I was going to Atlanta. I had to pick up some vehicles and bring them back up here. But, I go to these auctions, and what I do, I sit and watch YouTube while I'm waiting. And there's these people that bear hunt, and, I think it's in Vermont. And there's a guy, their bear dogs, their dogs always run a bear towards his property or onto his property. And the guy isn't from there. And I think it's in Vermont, I'm pretty sure. And they bear hunt a lot over there. A lot of people do. Well, the guy owns a lot of property now, and he doesn't want them anywhere around his property. Well, you can't help where that bear goes or that them dogs go. The dogs can't read a sign. They don't know. You can see them if you have a Garmin or some kind of tracking device that's GPS, you can see them. And I think up there, just like here, you have the right to retrieve by law. Down here, you can't take a firearm if the property owner does not want you to. You have to talk to the property owner. But, that guy made a big deal out of it. He did not like it. He's making YouTube videos about it. He tried to be nice about it, but he wasn't at the same time. I don't know how to explain it, but he even said, I see where they would enjoy doing this. It was exciting watching the dogs bark up the tree and seeing the bear in the tree. He said, but I don't want the bear killed around here. Well, that same bear could have been treed across the road, and there's nothing he could say about it or do about it, And the guy across the road, I think, owned a lot of land. He owned the farm, and the bear were getting into his, I think they were killing his cows maybe, or getting into his feed. I can't really remember. It's been a while. But that guy's like, hey, come over here and hunt these bear and kill them. They're a nuisance to me, just like the hogs or even deer. There's a place that I hunt down the road, and it's close to 100 acres altogether, different property owners, but I have permission with all of them. And one of the women, she said, kill all the deer you can because they're eating the food out of my garden. They're a nuisance to me. So we go over there and we try to, I kill the coons and the possums, and we try to hunt the deer, and there's even turkey over there, And I'm actually about to lose part of that property because they're going to sell it at the first of the year, and they'll probably divide it up, and it just, that ruins it, And if more people hunted and fished and stuff, they would understand, what's happening. We don't have nowhere to hunt hardly anywhere over here. We have a lot of public land and government land, but private land is where all the game's at because not a lot of people hunt it, and it's hard to get permission on private land. I don't have very many private land spots, but, the ones that I do have, I hunt a lot, and I'm shocked that there's anything left over there.
I think it's, the future of what we do is going to be interesting to see what happens because there's so many elements at play, and I think it's not going to get easier for people that like the outdoors. I think it's only just going to keep getting harder, unfortunately. And I think, everyone needs to just keep doing their part and doing the right thing and putting forward our way of life in the best way possible. And hopefully people see that and come around eventually. And that's all you can do at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Michael. Well, mate, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. I appreciate it. It's this time zone thing is a pain in the backside. So I know we've had a couple of misfires. The first time I end up in some serious pain and almost off to the emergency room and whatnot. And I know you've had work back and forth. So I do really appreciate you giving up your time, mate, and coming on and having a chat, talking about your tree dogs. And, mate, I look forward to continuing watching your journey with them on Instagram. So for people out there, if you check out Outfin Outdoors, I'll put links in the show notes so you can click on it and go across and have a look at what he does. But, mate, been a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thanks. And it was fun.
All right, guys. Bye for now. If you have a topic, guest, question, or any gear that you want to hear about on the podcast, shoot us an email, australianhuntingandbeyond@gmail.com. Alternatively, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All the links are in the show notes. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a review and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.